gracias por sintonizarse en esta noche, en este episodio en vivo, Q&A, preguntas y respuestas conmigo, with your favorite Activados host. You know, if y'all had to choose between me and Pastor Wesley, I think the answer is me. I don't know though. Nah, it's a joke. I'm just joking. Bienvenidos a este episodio en vivo. Right off the bat, just want to say thank y'all. Gracias a los que siempre están sintonizando, siempre están viendo. Gracias a los que están siempre apoyando. Cuando los vemos, nos dicen que son de mucha bendición los episodios que han estado pasando. Pienso que una de las preguntas rápidas o que me han hecho es ¿dónde ha estado? Where have I been? I've been busy. I've been busy. Haven't been able to make recording dates. No he podido estar en los días de grabación. So, that's where I've been. I haven't been able to record as much as I want to and be there as much as I want to. And so we've been struggling there because I haven't been there. I've been busy with a lot of things. Ministry is it keeps us busy and traveling and national ministry keeps us busy too. So we're grateful to be here today. Grateful to be with you guys. Hopefully we can be a blessing to you today. Whoever joins, nos están sintonizando, déjenos saber dónde nos está viendo, qué es lo que, desde dónde está viendo, con quién está viendo, who are you with, who are you watching with. We want to know where you're watching from. Got a couple things I did want to talk about today, and so we'll, waiting for a few more people to join to keep the stream going and everything. But how crazy was the eclipse? It was pretty. In our side, it was overcast like crazy for us. It was crazy just looking at it, and then for some reason it was overcast where I was, but then it would pop out. The sun would pop out, and then when it got fully covered by the moon, it was covered completely, and we were able to see it. So it's pretty cool. Watching the eclipse was pretty cool. I did a little bit where I took off my glasses and I was looking crazy, and I was like, my eyes are fine, guys. So we were messing around with it. But the eclipse was crazy. A lot of people, for some reason, drove, came to Austin to watch the eclipse. I don't know why. And since it was overcast, we were kind of laughing because we were like, people paid flights and everything, and schools even shut down. And here in Austin, they actually got mad at one of the school districts because they didn't shut down their classes, and so they were mad at them because they were like, y'all should shut down the classes for the eclipse or whatever. But then it was overcast and you could barely see it. But we were able to see it. It was just people weren't able to see the eclipse totally like it was advertised, without clouds in the way or stuff. But yeah, that was the eclipse. And the other thing is, Today I rode a horse for the first time. I rode a horse for the first time. That was crazy. Came home right after, fell asleep, woke up late to start this stream. Cause yeah, I was tired. Yeah, it was a great experience. I will tell you that though. It was a great experience. If you've never ridden a horse, you should. If you're scared, there's something to be scared of. It was fun. Now, while being on the saddle and going, sort of calm, and then at one point they had the horses jog and everything, and when they were jogging, I was just bouncing up and down on the horse. It was pretty funny. I was like, I can't imagine how it used to be back in the day, with our with when they didn't have cars and they had to go by horses, and that's crazy. That's crazy how they were shooting at each other from horses, and there was wars on horses, and they were sword fighting from horses, and it was crazy. I was like, I don't know how they did that. And then how did they even tame these horses without a saddle on them, these wild horses and stuff? And that's crazy. I At no point was I scared for my life. No point at all. Not even when I got on. My horse kept rocking, kept moving, and I was like, this horse is about to throw me off. And thankfully never did. But I can't show y'all, but this whole arm right here has scratches because he kept throwing me into the bushes, like knocking me by the bushes and the branches. He probably knew it was my first time, and he was like, I'm gonna haze this guy. I'm gonna haze him. So I got hazed by a horse today. Anyways, drop your questions. I want to know who's watching, where y'all watching from. We're gonna be here for a little bit, and then gotta take off because we got more responsibilities to take care of after this. So we want to hear from you guys. Where y'all watching from? Is it our regular viewers that are watching today, or is it just is it brand new viewers? Who's watching today? So we wanna hear from y'all. Drop it in the live chat, on your phone or wherever you're watching from. So want to hear from you guys. And if I don't hear from you guys, I'm gonna cut the stream short because kind of hungry. Pretty hungry right now. Huh? I should have eaten. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But it was either a nap or food, and after being on the horse, I was exhausted. Yeah. So, awesome. Blessings, brother Juan Tenorio. He's not Canadian no more. Or he's about to not be Canadian no more. He's about to be Texan. Yes, sir. Things you want to accomplish this year, personally and in ministry. Great question. Oh my God, you're gonna make me think now. Personally, I have a couple goals I want to accomplish. They're between me and the Lord, though. Personal ones. He knows, and before people think they know what I'm talking about, you're wrong. But one of my personal goals, this year is to, I guess it could be ministry, or you could think of it as ministry, but I want to keep learning more. I want to keep learning more. I have, the whole thing about you never stop learning is true. You never stop learning. But see, I never went to a Bible institute. I never went to proper classes about the Bible, and during those times and everything. So everything I've had to learn is on my own, and I love it. I love learning. So I want to try to see what one of my goals this year is getting closer to be able to. I don't know if I can say it. Hope my boss isn't watching, but to be able to get closer to leave my job and dedicate myself full time to ministry. And are you clipping this and sending it to her? Gotcha. Cool. He knows. And hopefully getting closer to going full time in ministry, and then being able to take classes. Being able to study, the Word of God, and get a degree from it. So that's a personal goal there. That's one of my personal goals. And in ministry, man, I'm seeing where the church is at right now, and it's growing, and there's so many things happening right now. There's so many things happening right now in church that churches, in the words of my brother, it's popping. uh, it's growing. There's so much to do, and church is growing. We're about to baptize some more souls for the kingdom, and I want to baptize those souls. There's some other souls that need to get baptized. My goal is to be able to lead them into baptism. For them to take that step. So, that's my goal. That's my goal in ministry this year. Keep growing. One of the things we started this year was discipleship. Keep discipling and watching how everybody's growing, because we've seen that impact. We've seen that impact in a lot of people's lives ever since we started discipleship. It's caused it's caused a lot of growth in people's lives, and transitioning from that mentality of I'm just a Christian, or I'm just a member of this church, to I'm a disciple of the Lord. It's a great that's been amazing. To see that. So great question there. And in my national ministry, just want to, I want to be in, I want to cause an impact. I was at convention, and I was directing that youth service, and man, God's presence was moving, and Pastor Chicas said something very special that night, that if you look at everybody that was at the front before the service even started, there's a bunch of youth, and there's so many. There's a youth that's hungry for God right now, and if I can cause an impact in their lives, if I can be part of that, if I can be a blessing to the youth that are seeking God and wanting God in this time, that's going to be something that I'll always cherish. So in my national ministry, just being able to be a blessing to somebody's life, to a youth's life, so to a young person's life, that just like somebody was to me years ago, and they've been throughout all this time. So that's something I want to accomplish in my ministry, my national ministry. Favorite state or country you have traveled to? Oh man. Favorite state or country? All right. just because maybe you want to hear this, but Canada's awesome. It's great to visit and leave after a few days. Okay, um, that's I'll just say that. But visiting Canada is like visiting the U.S. Okay, it's very similar. It's maybe it's not the same thing, but it's similar in in certain aspects. Um, so I would say my favorite country so far that I visited. Um, I really I really enjoyed. Okay, I'll give you a couple answers because there's different reasons. I really enjoy visiting Mexico, and it may seem like Mexico, yeah, all the places we've gone to in Mexico is so different from one coast to the other coast to the other place to the other region, and food is even different and really good in some spots and really good in some other spots, and it's completely different. So Mexico's good for that reason, and it has some beautiful spots too. Visited some Mayan mountains, Mayan temples, and some places that were pretty cool. Um, so for that reason, I liked Peru. I went to Peru last year. Peru was cool, and yeah, Peru was nice. Problem is, I didn't go to where I should have gone, which was um, Machu Picchu and Cusco. But if Lord permits, we'll go there soon with my family. Um, so yeah, I like Peru. Peru was nice. State, man, we have some great states. Texas is the best. Texas is the best. Okay, I traveled to many, and Texas is still the best. Um, really, just depends what you want. It depends why I've gone, or what I've done. That's what it depends on. But Florida is nice. Um, North Carolina was nice, and California. Even though I don't agree with their politics and their stuff that they do, I think there's some really nice places in California and some really good food too. Some really good tacos. And if you know me, I'm a taco person, so that that wins a lot. Favorite tacos? Ooh, oh man. Um, See, in LA, I love this truck called Leo's Tacos. Awesome, bro. So good. Um, there's some trucks here in Austin that are so good. Shout out to them, Tacos Regios, Dos Amigos, Tacos Regios al Vapor, Tacos Taco Master, Las Trancas. Shout out to all of them. Um, Houston has Tacos Regios, El Coquis has different locations. I love that place. But my favorite would have to be tacos. What was it called? Panchos Tacos? Pepe? No, Panchos. Panchos in Puerto Vallarta. Man, standing in that line for an hour was worth it. I'll tell you that. I would gladly go and stand for 2 hours if I needed to. But that place was, man. If y'all ever go to Puerto Vallarta, Panchos Tacos. Panchos Tacos, they're the best. Okay? And if y'all go, take me with y'all, please. Yeah, los tacos de trompo. Yeah. And if y'all go, please take me. Um, just want to specify that. And I'll pay for my own flight. Just let me know. What is the best advice you would give a young man that is called to preach or called to be a pastor? Great question, Brother Juan. Um, submit to your pastor. Submit to your pastor. Now, this is an interesting question, okay? Because I'm going to speak to you first from a PK standpoint, from a PK viewpoint. It's tough to differentiate the pastor from your father. It's tough to do that. But when you learn to do that and you submit yourself to him as your pastor, it opens up so many things in your life, so many blessings. If your pastor is not your father, submitting to your pastor, I've always told people, if you want to grow, if you want to serve the Lord, get close to your pastor. Go where they want you to go. Ask them if you can go with them wherever they're going, if you can accompany them, if you can help them just carry their bag, things like that. Why? Because that shows me that you're willing to serve. And no matter how big you get, you always need to remember you're a servant. If you're called to preach, if you're called to be a pastor, and they're two different things, because some people are called to preach, but they're not called to be a pastor. And some people are called to pastor, but they might not be the greatest preachers. So there's two different things. So I'm going to dive into that in a little bit right now. But if you're too big to serve, then you're too small to lead. If you're too big to serve, you're too small to lead. Si eres muy grande para servir, eres demasiado pequeño para liderar. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you now. A lot of people might think, Pastor Arnold is saying that because, he's been in ministry now almost 6 years. He's in national leadership, youth leadership, and everything. I'm called to serve. Over everything, I'm called to serve. If another pastor asks me to do something, I'm called to serve. I'm going to serve them. Why? Because if God himself came to serve, if he came to serve and not be served, who are we to think we're not going to serve? One of the biggest things you need to do is serve. Serve. And in many ways, it's not the same thing for everybody, but you can serve. And it's an example I've seen out of some great pastors. I've seen how they serve other pastors, even being in certain positions, being in seen by others, being elevated to certain positions. They're still serving. They're still serving others, and they're serving their pastors. They're serving their pastor. And so I've always said, you need to have a man of God in your life. You need to have a voice of God in your life. Because if you don't, then you're just wandering around without direction. And you need direction. You need somebody that can tell you when you're wrong, even if you might not like it, and somebody that can correct you. Because if you don't have that in your life, then you're going to be an undisciplined child of God, and it's not. And the Bible talks about, being disciplined and how we do need to be disciplined. So having a man of God in your life is crucial. It's crucial. And so I know as a PK it's tough to differentiate. It's very tough, but it's not impossible. And I honestly think it's even better because at the same time you have your father, but you have your pastor. So now what I was saying about the difference between preaching and being a pastor, there's some great preachers out there that are not pastors, and they will never be pastors because it's not about how you preach. It's not about that. Just because somebody, and this is a mistake a lot of people make, And I'm not saying you are, Brother Juan. I'm just saying in general, a lot of people make this mistake. Oh, that person can preach. They're called to pastor. Don't confuse them. Don't confuse both things. Don't be. You got to be careful. And I say that in general. People got to be careful with that. Just because somebody can preach does not mean they're going to be a pastor. Okay? A pastor needs to love the sheep. A pastor needs to have compassion for the sheep. The pastor needs to be, if a pastor needs to follow the footsteps of the Lord, because the Lord is our shepherd. Jehová es mi pastor, dice la Biblia. So we need to be like him. We need to be an example, like he was an example for us. So I've seen and I've heard it in teachings. I've seen churches that have a great preacher, that have a pastor that can preach the house down, that can move your heart, that can be used by God so well. And that church can start off great. That church can see and experience revival when it starts, and with some time maybe. But after time, that pastor isn't called to pastor. No matter how well he can preach, that church can go downhill. And I've seen it happen. But then there's other pastors that, the ones that are called to pastor, they might be a simple man. They might not have much studies or barely can read. They preach simple messages, but their churches are growing. Their churches are functioning right. Their churches are moving, and so initially people might not be drawn to that, but it's not that that's working there. It's the Spirit of God that's working there. So, now I'm not saying pastors can't be great preachers. No. Don't get me wrong either. There's many, many pastors that are great preachers. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying let's not ever fall into, thinking they're the same thing. They're not the same thing. But I think one of the biggest things and one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my years of ministry is, it's between you and God. It's between you and God. It ain't about who your dad was. It ain't about who your family is. It ain't about the relationship your dad had, your mom had. It ain't about any of that. It ain't about what other pastors do. It ain't about what other pastors did. It ain't about anything else. It's about you and God directly. And if you don't have that, you're not gonna go that far. You're not gonna reach the potential that God has placed in your life, the purpose that God has placed in your life. So that's a fantastic question, Brother Juan, I think. And that's my advice, and submit yourself to God, to whoever listens to this, whoever receives this today. My advice is submit yourself to God, submit yourself to the man of God in your life. That's gonna bring great blessings over your life, and it'll guide you, because it's God Himself guiding you. So great questions. It's, I could go on and on about it. Just because it's been an experience. It's been an experience for me. I've tried to always, surround myself with people that I can learn from, that I can grow with. So this is something I've had to experience, and whatever we can help with, whatever we can be a blessing with, that's what we're here for. That's what Activados is for. And that's what we're called to do. So um, I will say, if if God has a calling for your life, don't be scared of it. But I also want to say you gotta be careful thinking you have a calling from your life. And I'm talking in general here, not to anybody specific. Okay. Um, if you have a calling in your life, you're a man of God in your life, your pastor, who you submit yourself to, will also know that there's a calling for your life. Okay. If um, the voice of God, the voice of man of God in your life, they have to align. They're going to align if your man of God is a man of God, and don't just jump out there for your own sake, and be careful. Be careful with that. I've seen many people get impatient. Many people want to jumpstart their own ministries and go where they're used, but maybe God had a purpose for them to wait, to be patient, to be to wait for the opportunity. And some people don't like that. Some people, hey, I need to start working already. I need to be active already. I get it. I get it. But the most important thing is submitting yourself to the will of God. And the will of God sometimes has us be patient. It's not in our own time. It's not in our will. It's not in what we want. It's what God wants. So if you truly want what God wants, sometimes He'll make you wait, and sometimes He'll push you to start already. So you gotta be patient in Him, and you gotta wait for Him and for what He wants. So great questions. Great questions. Keep leaving your questions, guys, and I want to see what else. All right, brother Juan again. Great questions, bro. Keep them coming. So I've had conversations with young people, and they tell me that they don't want to go through the molding process in their life. Why is the molding process so important to an apostolic life? I'll give you an example of my favorite character in the Bible, Peter. Okay. Peter was molded his whole life. Or not his whole life, but his whole life, you could say. And people would be like, well, what about before Jesus appeared in the picture? He was molded. He was a fisherman by trade. Okay. And so he knew how to catch fish in the sea. Jesus called him to catch men, to be a fisherman of men. This guy was hot-headed, hot-tempered. He would react without thinking, and he would act. And if you look at his life, he's full of many moments like that. Peter is the one that jumps out of, and I've preached about this and I've spoken about this, and this is why I love Peter. He's the one that comes out of the boat in the middle of the storm when Jesus is walking on water, and people point that he had a lack of faith, that he didn't have faith, because he starts walking on water and he starts sinking into the water because of a lack of faith. People point to that. Yeah, but he was the only one that jumped, that got out of the boat. He's the only one that walked on water besides Jesus. He's the only man besides Jesus known to have walked on water. Okay? But he did it without much thinking, because when he got out there, then he started realizing about the storm. He started looking at the storm and the waves and everything. So that's what caused him. Okay? He didn't even think. When Jesus is arrested, what happens? He brings up his sword, cuts off the ear of the servant, and Jesus is like, put your sword away. Come on, man. He's hot-headed. He was a man of temper. When Jesus tells him, you're going to reject me 3 times. His mentor told him, you're going to reject me 3 times. And he's like, no, I would never reject you. What happens? He rejects him. But my point from there is he was the only one that was following Jesus that close. Everybody else had fled, had left to their homes. Peter was the only one that was close to where Jesus was when he was arrested. You know, he was hot-headed. He had a lot of flaws. He had many flaws. But yet, you go and see Peter in Acts 2, and this is a spirit-filled Peter. This is a Peter that was molded after 3 years. And he preaches that message. He preaches that fantastic message about salvation. What happened? He was molded for 3.5 years. Where Jesus would go, he would go. And there's people that are like, no, it's because right away I've been saved, I've been baptized, I've been I've given my life to God. Why should I be molded? There's no need for me to be molded. If this is what God has called me to do, there's no reason for it. Peter and the disciples were with Jesus 3.5 years. 3.5 years. Okay? And they were serving. You know? Sometimes we don't want to go through a molding process because we're so full of ourselves. Sometimes we don't want to be molded because we are so full of ourselves that we think we're right. We think we have the right answers. We think we alone know everything that there is to know. And the molding process is so important because if you allow yourself to go through it, it's going to be tough, yes. But you're in God's hands. You're in God's will because he wants to put you through fire. He's going to test you. He's going to test you. You know, just like Job. Job did everything right. Did he want to go through the molding process? Maybe not. I don't know. He doesn't say. But he had to. And it wasn't his choice. But he accepted it. When we accept the molding process by God in our lives, we're going to see blessings in our life. But whenever we don't allow God to mold us, just ask Jonah how that went for him. Ask Judas how that went for him. Ask Saul how that went for him. Ask these men that failed in their molding. They didn't want to get molded. They wanted to do things their way. Ask them how they went. We don't have to go that far to see it in the Bible. Ask Samson how that went. Samson, who was never... And Samson is a failure in the Bible. Samson was a failure. I've always said that. Samson is a failure. He is not... He's a person worthy of looking at and saying, I don't want to do that. That's what he's good for in the Bible. And so the molding process is so important. And I put it this simple: if you're not willing to clean restrooms in the church, there's no reason for you to be on an altar. There's no reason for you to be on a pulpit. If you can't humble yourself to do that, to do something that simple, there's no reason for you to be on a pulpit. Oh, it's because I'm called to preach. I'm called to be on the pulpit. I'm called to be in ministry. I'm called to be on an altar. Good for you. What do you think Peter and the disciples were doing when Jesus was on earth? Estaban repartiendo la comida. Estaban levantando las obras, las canastas con la comida que sobraba. ¿Qué estaban haciendo? What were they doing? You think they were lounging around doing nothing. No, they were working. They were serving. They were doing things. They were doing things. So, and that's where you see the heart of somebody for sure. I see a lot of and I hope I can say this correctly, but I see a lot of youth that are so happy to praise, to worship, that they, they're on fire. They're speaking in tongues. They're praying. They're um they're how do you say ayunando? Fasting. They're doing all these things to get closer to God, and that's great. But they're not serving. They're doing all those things thinking that that's what's going to get them to the pulpit, and those things are great. I'm not saying, please do not misunderstand me. I'm. Those things are great. You need that. I'm gonna get canceled. Those things are great, but if you're called to lead, you're called to serve. And where is that proven? Before you can lead. If you can't even serve in the little things, what makes you think you're going to serve in the big things? And again, if you're too big to serve, you're too little to lead. If you're too big to serve, you're too little to lead. And that's something I've learned. No matter where we're at, no matter what we're doing, no matter what positions we can reach or whatever titles are irrelevant. The more titles you have, the higher the title is, the higher level of service you need to be in. And so it's not about us, it's about the Lord. And what's his example? He served. He gave his life. He did it. So why is the molding process so important in the apostolic life? Every apostolic was molded by the Lord. And if they weren't, it's because they didn't allow themselves to be molded. I know a lot of great men, great women of God, and a lot of youth that have had so much potential, but they don't want to go through that process. And because of that, they never achieved their potential. So allow yourself to be molded by God. And trust me, allow yourself to be molded by your man of God. Because there's reasons for what he does. There's reasons to what he thinks and what he has you do and what he asks you to do. And it's to build your character. It's to see your character. It's to test your character. So some things are to test our character, some things are to see our character, and some things are to develop our character. So that molding process is so important. Great question, brother. Huh? Who's your pastor? I'm your pastor? I am your pastor. Do we have any more questions, or are we coming up on the end of our stream here? It's been a pleasure. Great questions by Brother Juan. So, great questions. He said, preach, Bishop. Nah, I ain't no bishop. What's my favorite food apart from tacos? Hold on, I'm thinking about what I've eaten this week. Man, I would say Favorite food apart from tacos. That's good. That's real good. Um, I like chicken. Like I like pupusas, but if I have to choose between pupusas and mom's pollo empanizado, I'm sorry, pollo empanizado wins. Yeah. Hmm? I have grown a lot. Very different, yes. I know. Maturing. If our viewers have any other questions, you drop them now or hablen ahora o callen para siempre. When is the merch coming? Yeah. Stay tuned. I know we've said before that merch is coming and we're working on it, but we are closer than ever on it right now. And we got some surprises coming along the following few weeks. That one of them is gonna help us. It's gonna allow us to drop that. So to drop the merch. So we're really close. We're really close. We're really close. I I wonder though, like some people have said they like the shirts that we have, but some people have told me they like these dress shirts with the Activados logo right here. What do y'all think? What do y'all like the best? You know, because we also don't want to branch out into too much merch. We want to be able to drop what y'all like, what y'all want. You know, so somebody said a hoodie. Hoodie's fine. They're great. You know, but do y'all like these? Do y'all like these dress shirts? People have told me they like these dress shirts with the logo right here. So, you know, maybe that's what y'all want. Um, but yes, merch is coming soon. I know we've said that before, but we're closer to it. It's just y'all should see the amount of stuff that's going on behind the scenes right now, and it's a lot, whenever you have to handle so many ministries. So it's it's a lot. It's been a lot for one person. It's been a lot for two people. It's been a lot for three people. But I don't know if I can say it. We might have a fourth. That might help with that. So, yeah. What's the plan for this channel? Grow. uh, Man, like we said, we want it to be a channel that blesses you. That the testimonies we hear, the topics we hear talked about, we want them to be a blessing. We actually realized and noticed that a lot of times they it's not about the video that just got dropped. A lot of people are going back to our older videos and watching previous topics, previous guests that have been a blessing and that they need in that moment. So that's why we're dropping content. That's why we're trying to do that. It just gets tough whenever you're busy to manage it all. So but our plan, we've had plans. It's just they got put on hold for a bit, and but we should be able to hit our goals now with some surprises coming along the way. So stay tuned for that. Well, it's been a blessing being with you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen. We appreciate y'all. Thank you, Brother Juan, for your questions. Thank you, everybody that has watched and that is going to watch. We appreciate all your support. So keep us in your prayers. Stay tuned. There's some surprises coming in the next few weeks. Have a guest we have some guests that are coming up that we're happy to have with us, and just be praying for us, and we want to be a blessing to everybody. So, on behalf of the Activados team, thank you once again for watching us and for supporting Activados. So, we'll see y'all next week at the same time in this same channel. God bless you guys.